found this land suitable for settlement?
Agricultural activities. Agricultural activities, because at that time agriculture was the most dominant activity of human. Right? So thereafter, when they started coming, they would have come first in the deserts of the Central Asia. So obviously when they started migrating, so they would have found the most fertile land from the Mediterranean, between the Mediterranean and India. So the most fertile land would have been the Ganga plain. Right? So they came, imagine the people who are coming from Afghanistan and Iran would have found Indus and Ganga like treasures. Getting that? जो आदमी पानी के लिए भटक रहा हो, अचानक उसको पानी का पूरा ये मिल जाए, पूरी नदी की नदी मिल जाए. Right? You can understand the religious evolution also. Why Ganga is considered as mother. Right? So that sequential occupance, cultural occupancy is somehow related with geography. Right? So that all the debate to understand this man and environment relationship is the crux of the part of human geography. Whenever you write an answer, this must be there in your mind. It should not be just reproduction of whatever you have read in the books, because that then you are becoming more academician. You are not supposed to produce a theory here. Rather, you are supposed to apply the theory as a would-be IAS officer, as a thinker. Right, as a man who is going to, or woman who are going to apply those knowledge in dealing with the solutions of the problems, to find out the problems. I have told several times, for example, if you are a DM of a Haryana, right, and coming from outside the plain area, right, how would you perceive Khap Panchayat? As an IAS officer, your perception will be different. As a human right activist, your perception will be different. Right? As a law enforcing agency, your perception would be different. This is what you call perspective in geography. The first topic which we are going to deal with. What do you think about Khap Panchayat? Haryana as a region I am talking about. And I am taking one aspect of it. The existence of Khap Panchayat in 21st century in a country like us. We are not Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, or even Middle East or the West Asia.
Society has devised a process to deal with this problem, because law enforcement is not that better. Whatever they got after independence, so it continues till.
IPS officer from Haryana will be offended from this statement.
Society at that place has still not evolved. It is still not in place with the modern day technology or modern day ideas.
So the same is true about UP, Bihar. Northeastern states are relatively less evolved than Haryana. Yet the problem, social problem in Haryana is far more severe.
I think it's about society.
Yeah, yeah.
Society is still insulated, despite of this reason being very much close to NCRs.
So question is why?
Because they are dependent more on primary activity of agriculture. So they want the authority to dictate the terms. Means they can be because the Khap Panchayat exclusively has male members and they are primarily associated with this primary activity. So
as an administrator, when you are going to deal with the problems of Haryana, you are supposed to understand and learn the root cause of it. Right? As a geographer, it gives you perspective to understand that. Right? Any society which is dominantly receiving their economy from primary activities would be inward looking. Any society which is dominant in primary activity would be having primarily a role of physical features of that area.
So it's common feature that wherever there is a agriculture society, it will be inward and activity patriarchal. There is no other this. The opposite is not.
It can't be said that if the society is agrarian, it is going to be very
patriarchal in nature. That cannot
Society, as far as nature is concerned, the society has made nature patriarchal. Nature itself has made society a patriarchal one.
even other factors are playing into the
Definitely. But what is the primary factor?
Politics,
Politics.
media, they all have a role to play.
That's true. What is the fundamental factor? Media for the whole country is the same. Political system for our country is same, yet we have regional variations. So what are the root causes? You are talking about the common factors. What are the root causes for that? For example, if we compare northern plain, take northern plain as a region, compare it with peninsular plateau, compare it with mountainous region. Himachal is the most ruralized state of our country, yet they are far more socially uplifted society. Despite the fact that they lack resources, the richest resource region of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, Chotanagpur Plateau, is relatively socially very, very underdeveloped. What is the role of geographer?
हिल्स और इस पे तो मैट्रियार्कल वुमेन डोमिनेटेड है उत्तराखंड एंड हिमाचल.
Why?
वो एग्रीकल्चर डोमिनेटेड होने के बावजूद भी वो
economic
वुमेन्स आर डोमिनेटेड.
Huh?
Women's dominated.
Tribal people have much more balanced social aspect in terms of matriarchal or patriarchal. Yes, sorry.
In the northeast also,
Mhm.
family is still women dominated.
Yeah.
Patriarchal society.
So is about Andaman Nicobar Island. So is about Jarwar tribes. So is about most of the tribals of the central India.
What has development is what development does with us and what with them. Is it good for us or bad? Development, we are the residents of the plain area. We are developed.
Hmm.
Still patriarchal.
No, what development has to do with patriarchy? You'll have to understand that.
So it is basically because of the activities that dominate and which is more influenced by the geography of the region. So, like in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh area, there is more adverse climatic conditions, and in hilly areas also. So they have to, whole family has to put together all the efforts to deal with the situation. Whereas in the plain area, when we see agriculture is not that difficult, like they don't face that much difficult situation. So here, one person can dominate over the others.
So why West Asia then?
No, sir, हिल्स पे तो शराब पी के पड़े रहते हैं और औरतें काम करती हैं पूरा.
नहीं, ये एक मिसकंसेप्शन. शराब पी के पड़े रहते होंगे तो वहाँ पे सोशल कंडीशन अच्छी नहीं होगी. अगर किसी भी एरिया में
कंडीशंस हिल्स पे
नहीं, वो एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड ओपिनियन है. देयर इज अ डिफरेंस इन द एक्चुअल रियलिटी एंड स्ट्रक्चर्ड ओपिनियन.
In West Asia, we are saying religion plays an important role.
Okay.
Because
Why-
there are
why?
mix of factors.
That's the misunderstanding. That's the fundamental misunderstanding which an intellectuals or a would-be IAS officer should not commit. For the people who are having discourse on chai stall, tea stall, that's fine. But for a would-be IAS officer, ये इससे बाहर निकलना पड़ेगा आपको. What is the problem in that? What is the role of religion in making that society?
People have themselves as actually made women should do this, men should do this.
Okay.
So that may be a factor.
So why North Indian fathers are so cruel as compared to South Indian fathers, who don't send their daughters to schools and educations, and the sex ratio is very poor, where the father of Northern Plain, most probably the Haryana and Punjab, would love to go for female ferticides as compared to the Southern Plateau region.
That's what I'm saying. In society itself has developed in a complex way. We cannot comment that this single factor is responsible for this.
No, that is responsible for that. That's the fundamental understanding. That's where you have to learn the basics of it. All the society of the world, across the religion, across the region, you will find one similarity, that which is dominantly receiving their economy or driving their economic or livelihood from the primary sources will be inward looking, will be conservative, will be orthodox. Now, higher you go in that pedestal, the society will be more matriarchal. The society will be more religious. The society will be more orthodox and inward. जैसे पर्शियन में कोटेशन है मी चुनी दी ग्रेनिस्ट, यानी कि हम ही तोप हैं, जैसे पेदरम सुल्तान बूद का एक कॉन्सेप्ट है, आई एम द बेस्ट, नोबडी एल्स इज बेटर देन मी, राइट. सो वहां से वो कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप होता है, इवॉल्व होता है. वी आर बेस्ट बिकॉज वी हैव सो मेनी रिसोर्सेज. वी हैव सो मेनी रिसोर्सेज बिकॉज वी आर चोजन बाय गॉड. Since we are chosen by God, nobody can be better than us.
That's what the person is thinking now. How is society, geography has influenced this?
Okay, how has?
Geography.
First, let's talk about why the situation is there. Right. So, is it purely society? Just like you were talking about the media. Why the attitude itself of maybe Haryana and Punjab or people of West Asia is like that? Look at here. If you talk about the sex ratio, the sex ratio in our country is worst in a particular region dominated by green revolution.
Yes.
Can you have a correlation? The moment you correlate, your answer will be the best one. If you can't correlate, it will be bookish one.
Green revolution, where there is more machinery.
No,
and
more.
yes,
Not machinery, it's basically about
machinery came up.
bumper production, agricultural production.
Why did you get bumper production?
Because
And there
of
is
fertilizers and agricultural seeds, not machinery.
there is agriculture in Eastern UP and Bihar as well.
No, but the
Yeah, that's the intra-regional variation we'll have to look into.
Yes.
If you look at tribal economy is the most nature dependent economy.
Because the
Yet they are better in terms of sex ratio.
Punjab and Haryana people were already well off and they could buy the latest seeds, and irrigation was much more developed in here because of the presence of the rivers.
No, that's a micro aspect. I'm not talking about micro aspect, because any society evolves through historical perspective. It's not a one-day game. Maybe it's not a game of 20 years. What you see Haryana and Punjab, it is the attitude which has been founded over the years, and the consequence of it in the present day.
So why it developed like this in the person?
Sorry?
Why it developed like this, like patriarchy developed?
The patriarchy is developed basically.
Actually, in Haryana, we see generally the history, we perceive this problem from the historical point of view. In Haryana, it's mainly dominated by the Rajputs. Means, Rajputs and Kshatriyas.
No, Haryana is not there. That's what you are going on a topic which is totally different. हम कास्ट की बात ही नहीं करते हैं. कास्ट इज वेरी मतलब फुल ऑफ फ्लॉ थिंग.
What I'm saying, it is a northwestern part of our country.
Mhm.
That was the main place.
Fine.
Which mainly accommodated most of the coming foreigners.
Okay.
Most of the time these foreigners came from the Central Asia.
Mhm.
They were invading, and they were kind of very much patriarchal in nature, because they were mainly engaged in fighting wars.
No, Rajputs were much more engaged in fighting
Yes,
wars.
sir, that is the reason, sir.
So see, Rajput have
Afterwards, sir,
Rajputs are just let me put it that way.
That was these were the people which afterwards came under the during the Brahmanical period. So these were the people, these were the group of clans. They were later on termed as Rajputs or Kshatriyas.
No, again, but that's what I'm saying. It is good. Just listen to me. It is good only for the discussion of the non-intellectuals. You are taking a very myopic view of it.
It is in history.
Okay, let me. Huh?
It is in history, sir.
Yeah, that is in history. I'm not denying the history. What I'm talking about, history has a role to play, not in terms of who came to us or invaded us, or which part has been invaded more. If you look at the way you're talking about the wars and all, Rajputanas, the Rajputs of Rajasthan has dominated as far as wars from the Indian natives in the medieval period is concerned. Look at Marathas. Look at Tipu Sultan in the South India. Look at the Vijayanagar Empire and all. They have all dominated, they have all been invaded. As far as invasion is concerned, the western coast had been invaded the most as compared to this. And if you look at western states, they are far, far more developed than eastern states. Despite
What's the question exactly?
the question is patriarchal, a region. When we are talking about geography, regional approach. I'm just dealing with regional approach. Let's say, suppose if you are talking about the green revolution states of our country, primarily the Western Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana, right? That's a region.
Yes.
So in a regional approach, you will try to find out the uniqueness of that region and how that region is different from the rest. Let's say different from the rest of the plain area and different from the plateau area and different from the mountainous region. So
Different features from all these areas, and then we can compare. But since you are discussing about Khap Panchayat and patriarchy in this region,
yes.
why it developed in the first instance,
Hmm.
whereas it is not of that higher degree in the other regions? This is the question.
Exactly.
So why is it so?
So it is because primary activity requires physical labor, strength. Man is
Strong.
strong,
Physically strong.
compared to women.
Right. That's the human attitude foundation. When you talk about attitude foundation, that is primarily determined by the perspective, the way you want to see. For example, a family. Once you become an IAS officer, your value will be totally different, not only in the society but in your family also.
Yeah.
Right? If you become an IAS officer, no guy can ever dare to ask for a dowry from you. Right? Can ever? If you are an IAS officer, your husband is also an IAS officer, can ever he dare to say that I don't want a female baby girl? What will be your reaction? Get lost. Right? So that attitude which has been the foundation of your relationship is coming from what? Sense of equality. Right? I'm no inferior to. Even if you are not an IAS officer, that can be there only where the attitude of the society is there.
So societal factor is an important
Yes, the societal factor is visible factor.
yeah.
And that visible factor has its foundation in economy. And that economy has its foundation in geography. Like religion की बात करते हो, feel free to speak your mind, never have any hesitation. जैसे Western UP को आप ले लो. Western UP is relatively dominated by Muslims. Punjab is relatively dominated by Sikh. Haryana is relatively dominated by Hindus. And all three will have great similarity in their cultural aspect. The best example of religion playing the least important role. The female feticides will be as worst in Western UP and even among the Muslims. They will be so adverse to going for family planning, though citing religion as a reason. But that's not there. That is the visible aspect. They'll quote religion कि हमारे religion में ऐसा मना, वो एक वक्त की नमाज नहीं पढ़ता होगा, लेकिन वो religion को यहाँ पे जरूर quote कर देगा कि हमारे religion में मना है. Religion के जो basic principles है उसको किसी को नहीं मानता होगा वो. Right? रमजान के दिनों में दिन में पूरा दारू पी के पड़ा रहेगा वो, लेकिन जब उसके बच्चे की बात आएगी तो बोले नहीं, इस्लाम में मना है. So that is basically a kind of pretense, a protection, a guard of religion taking whatever you cannot do. Now, any primary activities, for example, let's say suppose West Asia or Green Revolution states में हमारे यहाँ Green Revolution states और West Asia के जो economy उसमें क्या similarity है?
Related to primary activity.
Both are related to primary activities. West Asia is dominantly oil region. This is agricultural region. Right? Now, what is the uniqueness of these two different regions and what is the similarity of these two? These two are different like in the sense that this region is agriculturally more productive because soil is better. That region is a desert. But you will find huge amount of similarity in their cultural aspect.
So how it has increased the culture? Like primary, how it has the primary activities that influence these cultures?
Okay, fine. Suppose the best example is that oil की बात कर लो. Oil आपको निकल रहा, बढ़िया से मजे से आप जिंदगी गुजार रहे हो, सारी लग्जरीज आपकी पूरी हो रही. Who will you try to credit the presence of oil in your region? Who will be credited for the presence of oil in that region? जैसे अगर मैं थैंक करना चाहूँ, ये तुम्हारा सिलेक्शन होता है, तो who will you thank? Your parents, maybe your friends, maybe your ability to learn. You'll thank God for making you like this, right? लेकिन अगर तुम रिचनेस तुम्हारी इस वजह से कि तुम्हारे घर के नीचे सोना का खदान मिल गया, उस रॉक में पूरा सोना का चट्टान है, who will you thank? God, right? So that becomes, the religious aspect becomes far more dominant. The moment you are connecting everything, whatever you have, to the unforeseen power. जैसे आप सपोज करो खेती कर रहे हो, forget what, that's the easiest example. तुम्हारी गेहूं की फसल पूरी लगी हुई है और अचानक ऐसा बादल दिख रहा है कि लगता है ओले पड़ जाएंगे, तुम्हारी फसल बर्बाद हो जाएगी. तो क्या करोगे? अल्लाह प्लीज, भगवान प्लीज, घंटा भी बजेगा, मस्जिद में नमाजें भी बढ़ जाएंगी, मंदिर में जो पूजा वूजा की आरती वारती सब बढ़ जाएगी, प्लीज 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 मत देना मत देना मत देना. So that becomes, I'm not talking about, that's generally religion, but that's not religion basically. Primarily it is not religion. Primarily it is the orthodox, whatever belief you have, the traditions you have been following, then you try to intensify that. That's why why inward decay? Because primary society, which is dominantly receiving primary activities, they'll be relatively self-sufficient in their economy. So they'll not be looking outward. If I'm not interacting with you, how can I learn the quality about you? And I might not be understanding my demerits. So the society which is inward will automatically become conservative. Right? The society which is conservative will be giving too much values to traditional aspect, and they will not be dynamic. They will remain static.
That's what she said, and that's what I said. Like she said that in agricultural areas you need more labor and maybe men not needed more. And I also said something similar, like in these disaster-prone areas, you need dynamism. You need help of others. You can't solve a thing on your own. So I think that has also led to these factors.
There are several factors. I'm not talking about this is the only factor.
Yeah, that helps
But
in dynamism. That's what I'm saying.
disaster-prone areas will be relatively underdeveloped always.